So before we get started, so let's do our short refuge prayer. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha by my virtuous actions of giving and so on. May I become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. So this is the third and the last session of the Bodhichitta Mindfulness topic that we've been listening to and studying. Listening to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, his teachings and his videos, and how to apply to our daily life, right? So since it's been a week or a couple of weeks since and today's going to be a shorter session because really the last there's only one real topic that left to cover, but since we have taken a couple of weeks break, I thought maybe it's a good idea to kind of review what the intention of Bodhichitta mindfulness is, right? And so we can do this by looking at Rinpoche's own words. And so let me share my screen. And this is you can share you can see the screen, right, Donnie? Yeah. Okay. Oops, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. So this is in the recommended readings on the website, right? The booklet from FPMT on Bodhichitta mindfulness that they put together from Rinpoche's teachings over a series of retreats, some of which I attended. And so in there, I think the introduction is worth kind of going over. And I don't remember if Alan had joined earlier. I don't think so, but either way, it's good to review and see what the intention is, right? So I'll read it and you can read along with me. The Sutra teachings of the Buddha include mindfulness practices to keep our minds in bodhicitta, especially during retreat. So this is in the context of the retreat that we were all attending. So that's, of course, you can also do activities with mindfulness of renunciation and right view, but by doing every single activity with bodhicitta, your life will become most wise, most meaningful, and most beneficial. If instead you follow the self-cherishing thought, it will not allow you to gain the realization of bodhicitta. Now, just to recap, if you remember, bodhicitta is the intention that whatever actions we take of body, speech, and mind, that the intention is that action brings us and especially all other sentient beings to the perfect state, right? The enlightenment. And it has associated with it the great compassion, right? Of that how can I achieve enlightenment and liberate myself and have all these other beings who have been my mothers in previous lives, other beings suffer like they are continuously in the cyclic existence, right? So that's bodhicitta, and we take the responsibility of freeing all beings from samsara, right? So that's bodhicitta. So then he says, so if instead you follow the self-cherishing thought, it will not allow you to gain the realization of bodhicitta. It won't even allow you to generate the good heart because you are seeking happiness only for yourself, and whatever you do is only for yourself. When you are unable to generate bodhicitta, you cannot enter the Mahayana path, achieve the Mahayana Arya path, and complete the merits of virtue and wisdom of the Mahayana path. because you cannot cease the delusions, complete the path and achieve full enlightenment. You cannot do perfect work for sentient beings by bringing them to enlightenment. As a result, they will have to suffer for a long time. In this way, self-cherishing harms you and numberless sentient beings, both directly, indirectly, from life to life. If you practice Dharma and generate bodhicitta and a good heart, it will result in the total opposite: happiness for yourself and happiness for all sentient beings. With a good heart, the happiness of this life comes. Even without thinking about it, it just comes. Not to mention the happiness of future lives, liberation, and full enlightenment. With bodhicitta, you are able to cause numberless beings to receive these 4 levels of happiness. And by practicing the good heart in your day-to-day life, as well as in your moment-to-moment life, there is happiness even for yourself, a comfortable life, a life without fear, depression, and guilt. The entire package of suffering doesn't happen. Because of a good heart, you don't experience it. Instead, your good heart brings happiness to you now and in your future lives, like the sun shining in this world. It also brings peace to the world, peace for other sentient beings, and peace for everyone around you. All this comes from the Dharma, from a good heart. Then when death comes, there is nothing to feel sad about. You die with great happiness and joy because there is no reason to feel depressed. Anyone who is seeking the state of omniscience needs to attend to the many methods for collecting merits and purifying delusions. The omniscient one, who was very skillful and had great compassion for us sentient beings, explained that even the activities that we normally do, such as eating, sleeping, sitting, walking, and doing our jobs, can become ways to collect unfathomable virtue and skies of merit. With mindfulness of bodhicitta, these can become not only beneficial to ourselves, but beneficial to all sentient beings. The Buddha explained this to us who do not have bodhicitta realization. This is how everything we do can be dedicated to become a cause of happiness for all sentient beings. This is something that we can practice immediately. Then all the activities we do in the breaks between our meditations will be done with bodhicitta and the thought to make them beneficial for all beings. Our daily activities will become a cause for us to attain omniscience so that we can liberate sentient beings from the oceans of samsaric sufferings and bring them to enlightenment. So that's the great motivation of bodhicitta, right? And interesting, what he's saying, especially, when he talked about how bodhicitta just, he says it brings happiness to us even, right? It's not just happiness to, the bodhicitta brings us happiness. And he said it just comes, right? So he says it will be totally happiness for yourself and happiness for all sentient beings. Everything without thinking about it just comes. So, that's counterintuitive to what we think, because we think that if we, the more we amass, the more we accumulate, the more we think about ourselves, the more secure financial security we will have, we will have people, anyway, you know what I mean? So, but it's actually works just the opposite. The more self-cherishing thought that we have, the more unhappiness or misery or whatever you want to call it, samsara, we, the more we are continue to stay bound in samsara, right? Not just in this life, of course, not just in this life, but in continue over and over, life after life after life, right? So the bodhicitta not only brings us happiness, it brings others happiness, brings peace to the world. And with that attitude, we can bring everyone to that perfect state, right? So that's the attitude to have, the altruistic intention with all the activities that we engage in our daily life. And so far we've, for example, talked about how to walk with bodhicitta, how to have how to, so any action that we take in our daily lives, which normally are neutral, right? Walking is a neutral activity. So is sleeping, so is eating, so is most things, a lot of things that we do. But if we have bodhicitta motivation, they become virtuous. And when they become virtuous, they become an easy way to continually collect merit, which is the base that is required for us to, to propel ourselves towards enlightenment and to bring others to enlightenment. Right? Without the merit, we can't make progress. Right? Everything, if you remember karma, everything that we have now, our current life, human life, etc., is all because of merits that we've accumulated in previous lives, right? So far we've talked about walking with, how to eat with by offering to other beings, how to, walking, for example, where, you imagine the stupas and the holy object on your right, and and all the beings circumambulating, right, around the stupa, and all the other, and if you remember, so this pamphlet or booklet, whatever, that's on the website, has all the, kind of, it's a summary of all the things, how to, when you're lying down, sleeping, waking, bathing, washing, etc. Right? So today what we'll do, and as I said, today we only have one, so we have one topic to really cover. So it'll be a shorter session today, which I'm sure a lot of you are happy about because you've been on the computer since Jado Rinpoche's empowerment, right? But it's wonderful that you went to Jado Rinpoche's empowerment. So that's a great, merit accumulation. Okay, so then why don't we do this? So last time when we talked about brushing our teeth and so forth and so on, I didn't have a video of Rinpoche, but I did find one. So let's do that today. And so let me share this screen. And hopefully you can hear, right? I'll turn the volume
up. And then when you wash, then purify the not only yours, but sentient things. Not only yours, obscuration, purify, all sentient things, obscuration, purify. For example, the first time washing with water, then the disturbing thought obscuration purified. Then by putting soap, then washing the subtle obscuration, schedule, all sentient beings, and not only yours, all sentient beings are purified. So same thing when you clean the soap, truth, and then first purified all the disturbing thought obscuration. And we also sentient beings purified. Then second time put because the truth pass in the Washington, subtle obscuration purified, not only yours, all sentient as well. So like that, all the because we so whether you follow the daily life, so daily life, the practice, there's a mantra to when you met people kaka to make charity for brothers, but even that, how about the also the district and all the sentences disturbing thought obscuration, nirkamas, or this came out of that, or also the excrement, then all the sentencings, the obscuration, all that come out of, so all that dispelled to us, right? Put out, so that, all things like that to do with the benefit of the sentient beings. So this no comparison. No comparison. Business. There's no business compared to Bodhichitta. There's no business in the world that can be competed with Bodhichitta benefits. So, with the moderation Bodhichitta, any action you do, that always increases and causes both enlargement. After enlargement, what you can do is amazing, benefiting to every single, helplings who are suffering now the heaviest. If it is materialized, like sky, when it is materialized, they didn't get to purify before, didn't get to any purification before, didn't get Dharma. So it's experienced. It's the karma already experienced. Late, it's already experienced and finished. So no matter how much you don't wish to experience, but no matter how much you don't wish, until your karma finish, you have to experience no choice. So the amazing. Also, so we don't know, many of us, we don't know, we have no idea. It's the most humble, the most expression, that reality. That's so the so every action done even with the motivation, but that would not actual realization, but they see all like that. So cause of enlightenment, everything become eating, walking, sitting, sleeping, doing job, business, anything. Everything we see. Lamaje, this practice of Bodhichitta, that's incredible, unbelievable. This incredible. So that's saying, so benefit to every single, not only your family, your friend, your enemy, your stranger, but benefit to every example animal, every ant. The numberless universe, there's every ant. Benefit to everyone. Then every single fish like mountains, a small size in the ocean, all kinds. Sometimes you don't know that the animal, they look like rock or things like that. You don't know it is animal. So you benefit to everybody when you generate Bodhichitta. Even just motivation, even do it. In that motivation, you dedicate person to so every mosquito, anyone, you see. To anyone, there's no left even one, didn't left out. The benefit every certain thing, so they're numberless, each one, each is but touch, but benefit everywhere, touch. So your action, whatever you do, that's the unbelievable. That's practice. With the Buddhist motivation, if you are singing or dancing or you see, whatever you do, with the Bodhichitta, you are playing comedy, making fun. You are playing comedy, like that. What do you see? But amazing. It fulfills your motivation bodhicitta, fulfills every single numberless helpless, hunger gods, animals, human beings, everyone's wishes. It fulfills their wishes to bring all the happiness to them up to enlightenment. Full the wishes of every single insect. Can imagine, full of their wishes. Each time when you generate bodhicitta, before you do the act, what is here? Sentient, Kyungun self. Refuge, Taleba. Gender, Shankha, sentient. Mijung legend, Dimijung, so sentient, so you see your bodhicitta, eliminate every sentient being. Every sentient being's shortcoming, mistake. So it makes every sentient being. It eliminates every sentient being's mistake. So they see, they elaborate that young by Jerishidon, 80,000 delusions, elaborate. See the mistakes. I was every sentient. So your bodhicitta, general bodhicitta, makes every sentient being as it eliminates every sentient being's mistake. Is a mistake, the delusion, wrong concept, and there's a wrong action. Then there means also all the suffering, oceans of suffering of samsara. But it's every sentiment. So you eliminate every single mistakes and all the sufferings. Every sentient being, so for each sentient being, you see infinite qualities. So first of all the bodhisattva, they are all the bodhisattva, ordinary bodhisattva, higher bodhisattva, they call it all the party, all call it. Then the Buddha's infinite quality, Buddha's holy body, holy spiritual mind, You cause to generate in the heart of all sentient. You cause to generate in the heart of every sentient being. Every sentient being. There are numberless sentient beings in each realm. So you cause generate infinite qualities in the heart of every sentient being. Towards every sentient, you cause generate infinite quality. Which causes that bodhicitta, central days. So you see, you wish to cause qualities to the sentient, to every sentient being. So what causes that? Your bodhicitta. Mijung legend, dimijung. Then casually. This one is your generic bodhicitta is you do the actions with bodhicitta. It's a mijung. You see, the imminent, imminent of the imminent from the imminent among the imminent actions. So when your action becomes Dharma, I guess, when your action becomes Dharma, it's the imminent, the benefits. But then now, you see, if it's done with the renunciation of samsara, cause of our ultimate happiness, incredible. Now, even the action done with the Bodhichitta is the imminent among the imminents. Yeah, then I do like that, then our listening teaching here also the next day. Then she done with the motivation Bodhichitta. So generally in the life, anything what you do, you see, this is all your life is so busy, and then at the main refuge is your Bodhichitta in a busy life. That's then that's fantastic. Your life become like gold from kaka life into kaka life into gold life. From mud life into gold life. Or wish grand life. All that. So yeah, so again you can see we are studying basic program, master program, Baba, very extensive teachings. So after enlightenment, amazing. And then even those who are not studying extensive, but the essence of Lambrim, Lojong, this is however, we have an opportunity to hear teachings on Bodhichitta and how to practice, but how to develop Bodhichitta. So fortunate. We are so fortunate. We are so fortunate. Although then, not that. Then, except this one time, perfectly in body, met Dharma, and the he there's many other great qualified teachers. But the name Bodhichitta. So then we can't say what will happen next lives. It's hard to say for you. So I don't know what we don't know what. Because the karma is not only what you create this life, but karma is what you've created from beginning. But so their karma is finished. Not their numberless karma is not finished yet. So you have to know that. You have to remember that. So not only think only karma this life. So there, so there within, so they,
So yeah, so I, I mean, what I find Rinpoche is, you could get the sense that, I mean, his vast motivation, right? I mean, when he's thinking about Bodhicitta, not a single, like he talked about mosquitoes, he talked about every little tiny tick and every, all the high bodhisattvas, the lower bodhisattvas. I mean, you include everyone. And so all our, he said that every one of our actions, are contributing to bring infinite qualities to all those beings. And then he said, wow, 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 right? I mean, yeah, it's just unbelievable, So that's the kind of vast motivation. If we can keep even a little bit of that, in our daily actions. And, Rinpoche is, in these teachings, he's really trying to make it easy for us, I mean, he knows the busy lives we lead. He knows the distractions that we have. He knows the delusions that we have and how difficult it is for us to maybe practice or study or whatever. But, he's just saying that, look, when you wake up, you can think about sentient beings. When you walk down the stairs, you can think, so every action becomes this wow, wow, wow motivation, and brings every little tiny sentient being to their in infinite qualities. And then also, you notice that in there, he said Lama Chen, Lama Chen, Lama Chen, a bunch of times. And that's actually Lama, that's a prayer called Lama, calling the Lama from afar. And the first line goes, Lama, think of me, Lama, think of me, Lama, think of me. So that's in Tibetan, Lama Chen, Lama Chen, Lama Chen, right? It's entreating the Guru. So basically, he didn't explain it, but what he's saying is that, the Bodhichitta motivation is also is part of what, what our Guru devotion is, right? Is because our Guru is telling us, that's our Guru's instruction, is right, to have Bodhichitta motivation. And if you remember, the greatest gift, it says in the Lam Rim, right? The greatest gift, and there are many ways to serve the Guru. And it says the greatest way to serve the Guru is to follow his instruction. That's what makes him and the Buddhas the happiest, right? More than praising them, more than making offerings, more than all the other things, serving them, and so forth and so on. It's following the instructions. So when we have Bodhicitta motivation, we are following our Guru's instructions, right? So that has immense value, potential, merit, whatever you want to call it. Serving the Guru and following his instructions is one of the fastest, or maybe it is the fastest way, for us to gain enlightenment, at least in the Sutra tradition. So yeah. So that was I thought that Venerable, I thought Rinpoche was going to talk about a little bit about, brushing your teeth, because that's what he started out, wanted to do, but then he didn't. But that's okay. That's how Rinpoche is. But he gave us an amazing teaching on Bodhichitta mindfulness, right? So any questions anyone has, any thoughts anyone has about this or previous so far what we've covered? No? Okay. But one thing I did want to mention, I wanted to mention it last week, but I forgot, is that, I really strongly encourage you, I request you to pick maybe one or two things from that booklet, of activities that you do, right? And just really make an effort, just make a resolution that, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to say, do this, or when I'm washing the dishes, and if there's something else that really appeals to you, an action or a motivation, then you do that. It's okay. But I think the important thing is to do it, right? That's what Rinpoche is trying to say, is really just make the effort, and then it becomes much more much more habitual, and then all our actions become virtuous, and it'll stop us from doing non-virtuous things. It's very hard to gossip with bodhicitta, or to stab someone in the back with bodhicitta. It stops us from, that's fine. Thank you, Louis. No problem. So you know, it actually, you know, it stops us from doing negative things. And not only is it's a twofer, right? Not only is it creating merit, but it actually stops us from committing, you know, further, you know, creating further demerits, right? So, you know, what more could you ask for? Okay, so then let's do the final topic that is in this oh, I need to share my screen again. In this Bodhichitta Mindfulness module. Oh, okay. And then we want to go to here. Right. And this one doesn't have a video, unfortunately, but it has the transcript. So I'll read again the transcript, and then we can, and you can read along with me, and we can then see if you have any thoughts. Okay. So he says, okay, so this is about Tonglen mindfulness, right? So if you remember, Tonglen is the practice of taking and giving, where we take the, you know, there's a visualization, and he'll talk about it, but we take all the suffering, all the pain, all the disappointments, all the, you know, all the hunger, all the, you know, anything that people are going through, and we take them into our hearts, and it transforms into compassion, love, kindness, generosity, all those things, and we give that to all the beings, right? And we also imagine that as the suffering enters our heart, others' suffering enter our heart, that it also burns up, you know, whatever self-cherishing that we have in our you know, or the ego, etc., in our hearts. And so it has this, you know, it brings it's basically a mind transformation technique, right? So that's the summary of what it is, and then Rinpoche will talk about it. Okay. Oh shoot. Okay. I mentioned to practice mindfulness while walking. I mentioned before that the reason why I went through this mindfulness practice is not just to have you listen. It is not just for you to hear what I have to say, but for you to practice now during this retreat, to get familiar with mindfulness and also with bodhicitta. Everything has to do with sentient beings. Dedicate everything you do for sentient beings. Everything is dedicated to sentient beings. So practice now, during this time, during this retreat, and during this life, of course. That becomes the real retreat. The best mindfulness is bodhicitta. The idea is to really practice now. Then this becomes a good habit in daily life. You can also do it in normal life. It is unbelievable. Everything, whatever you're doing, is done with refuge and bodhicitta. Everything is dedicated to sentient beings, for numberless sentient beings, not only to your friends, family, or those whom you like, but to numberless sentient beings. That is the case. Can you imagine the motivation? You do everything for sentient beings. Bodhicitta, the mind benefiting sentient beings, is the best retreat. It is what makes the life most meaningful. Now he starts talking about it, specifically on Tonglen. The most wonderful, happiest life comes only when you're able to practice. When someone criticizes you, puts you down, doesn't respect your talks about your mistakes, that is the best time. At that time, use thought transformation to develop compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta, and patience. You can especially use the Tonglen practice. It is most important. Then, even if anger arises, you take all sentient beings' anger upon yourself and use anger in the path to enlightenment. Use attachment in the path to enlightenment. You take all sentient beings' anger and attachment from them. That totally destroys or eliminates your ego and selfish mind. That all the results, the sufferings that come from anger and attachment, are taken from them and absorbed into your heart, into your self-cherishing thought there. From beginningless rebirths, the selfish mind has caused the heaviest obstacles and hasn't allowed you to achieve enlightenment. It hasn't allowed you to achieve liberation from samsara. And it has been an obstacle not only to your future life's happiness, but also to your happiness in this life. Your main enemy is not outside, it is in your heart. So completely destroy the selfish mind. That is unbelievable. You are destroying the enemy of bodhicitta, and this allows you to have the realization of bodhicitta in your heart. It has unbelievable power. When you take on all the anger of the numberless hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, human beings, asuras and suras, all their anger, can you imagine it? Then you take all its suffering results. Do the same with attachment, then take all its results. All the sufferings that you receive from these beings, you take and give to the selfish mind. That is the main thing. If it is more helpful for you, if you find it more beneficial, feel that what you take on absorbs to your attachment and your attachment is destroyed. In this way, you can use the 3 poisonous minds in the path to enlightenment. So he says, there are a couple of verses you can recite in whatever activity you are doing, which are basically Tonglen practices. So the first one comes from Nagarjuna: whatever suffering sentient beings experience, may it ripen on me. Whatever happiness I have, may it ripen on those sentient beings. And then there's this famous verse from the Guru Puja, and it's, I used to take classes from Geshe Gelik in North Carolina for many years. And he always asked his students to memorize this verse. And then you do the meditation, the Tonglen meditation, while you chant this verse, right? So, and it's really, and if you actually memorize the tune and chant the verse, then it becomes really, really easy, because you just do it, then it just kind of, your mind automatically just goes to a particular, this special place, and the bodhicitta just arises, and it just becomes so easy to do Tonglen, You can get copies of the chant from the FPMT. They have the Lama Chopa, it's LC95 and Lama Chopa tunes. But you'll probably remember, I can do the tune now, and then let's see if we can try to do, so we'll do it we'll read it in English, and then I'll do the tune, and maybe we can meditate on, what it says in there, right? And to do the Tonglen practice. So I think that would be a really wonderful practice. So it says, and thus perfect, pure, compassionate Guru, I seek your blessings that all negative karmas, obscuration, and sufferings of mother transmigratory beings may without exception ripen upon me right now, and that by giving my happiness and virtue to others, all transmigratory beings may experience happiness. So I'll do the verses, and maybe we can do the meditation, right? Dena jetsun lama tuje chen ma gyur troe dig drib du na kum malu da daglamin pa dang dagi dege jen la tang wai drukunde dang den parjingi lo den ajetsu Lama Tukje Chen Ma Gyudrowe Dig Drib Dunga Kun Malu Data Daglamin Padam Dagi Dege Zen La Tangwa Ido Kunde Angden Den Parjin Gilo. So you'll find that, it's very hard to, I find it very hard if you're doing it in English to actually do the, meditation, because it just, it doesn't work. That's just me, but if it works for you, wonderful. But if not, give the Tibetan a try. And all you have to do is just memorize the tune and the words. And then it just becomes, the other thing is, if you really want to do the tune, but you aren't able to do it in Tibetan, you can send me an email, and I have a version in English that also, is actually set to the meter in the Tibetan, of the tune here. And so you can do it in English and do the tune. So there you go.
Do they have it in Sanskrit? Okay, just checking.
Have it in Sanskrit. The answer is yes, somewhere.
Oh.
Yes, somewhere, but I don't know where. I mean, the Lama Zopa comes from India, right? So,
For it. Thank you.
so I suspect there is one somewhere, but I have. But Dhani, you were right there. I would ask Venerable Steve. He would know.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So to continue, he says, giving my happiness does not mean only giving them temporary happiness, but also includes giving them ultimate happiness, liberation up to enlightenment. You give all that to all sentient beings. By doing this, you think, may all transmigratory beings have happiness, especially ultimate happiness, liberation, and enlightenment. He says, recite one of these verses over and over again at different times throughout the day, like reciting a mantra. Normally, people recite mantras as much as possible while walking, working, or doing other activities. Similarly, here, you recite Tonglen and other thought transformation prayers as much as possible. You train your mind with the words, and when you do that, it is most unbelievable. It is just so good. It is so good to even just recite the words. Wow. Yeah. When you receive the causes of suffering, karma and delusion of the numberless sentient beings from each realm, as well as the results, the immeasurable suffering for each sentient beings, can you imagine the purification? Numberless eons of negative karma get purified. Negative karma from beginningless rebirths gets purified. You can't imagine it. It is unbelievable, unbelievable purification. Then merits, wow, skies of merits are collected. Skies of merits are collected. Because in each realm, there are numberless sentient beings, and you are taking all the cause of sufferings from them. And on top of that, all their sufferings, the merits collected are limitless skies of merits, numberless merits. When you take the cause of suffering from the numberless hell beings, you collect numberless merits. When you take the cause of suffering from numberless hungry ghosts, you collect numberless merits. When then you take the causes and the results from the animals, and then from the intermediate state beings, then you give your happiness and all your past, present, future merits to each of the numberless sentient beings in each realm. Can you imagine? Wow, how many numberless merits, the uncountable number of merits you collect? You collect all the results of happiness up to enlightenment, every single happiness. Wow, for this life and all your future lives, then for liberation and enlightenment, and give them to numberless hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, human beings, asuras and suras. Each time you do that, you collect numberless merits. To give an example, you do a practice to collect virtue and then give that to numberless hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, human beings, suras and asuras. Can you imagine if you did water offerings, or if you make charity to a beggar, you collect merits and then give these to numberless sentient beings. You collect numberless merits by giving to numberless hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, human beings, suras, asuras, and intermediate state beings. That one merit is multiplied 7 times. Can you imagine? Now, there are so many merits you collected in the past, present, and future. And when you give these to each sentient being, you can't imagine how much happiness, not just temporary happiness of this life, but the happiness of future lives you gain with each one. And then when you give merits to each sentient beings, with each one, you collect numberless merits for liberation and enlightenment. You give away your body many numberless times. Then with your wealth, house, and material possessions, you make charity to the numberless sentient beings in each realm. You should collect numberless merits with each object and with each material thing, with each gift of money that you give to each sentient beings. With each one, you collect merit. Just doing this practice of giving one time, you collect 6 times numberless merits, 7 times, because of the numberless intermediate beings. So basically saying, there's the 6 realms plus the, I guess, the intermediate state beings. So then, that's the 7 times. You collect numberless merits each time you do the practice, but you do the practice again and again. So can you imagine? And then it goes like, that's that sound, like, wow, like that. There are numberless merits by doing Tonglen practice even once. Who are you giving to? To the numberless sentient beings. Whether you give them your body, your house, 1 material possession, or $1, you collect 7 numberless merits. So it is so unbelievable, unbelievable. If you think of all the details, it will make you faint or fall down. And then you will end up going to the hospital. I'm joking. But if you really think well, the merits, it is just the most amazing practice. And this is the best practice when you are dying. When death comes, you should do that. Wow, you have incredible peace when you do that. Incredible inner peace, satisfaction, and joy. You die with bodhicitta. This is what His Holiness calls self-supporting death. You don't need other people to pray or do something for you. Whether there are other people there or not, you guide yourself. When someone goes for a checkup in the hospital, the doctor says, oh, you have cancer. I think there are some people whose minds are so happy because they can experience cancer for other sentient beings. It is because they get to do a very special practice and use their lives in the best way to free themselves from all past negative karma. It is so powerful. It is the quickest way to purify and collect extensive merits. Your life becomes totally special and is the quick way to achieve enlightenment. The cancer becomes very special dynamite. The cancer becomes your dynamite practice, so powerful to destroy the delusions and defilements, and a quick way to achieve enlightenment. It is a quick way so that you become able to liberate sentient beings from the oceans of samsaric sufferings and bring them to enlightenment. It is a quick way to benefit numberless sentient beings. For people who see the advantage and who normally practice like this, who think in their daily life the sentient beings and their happiness are the most important, who look at the I as being from where all the suffering comes, and at others as being from where all your happiness comes, their minds are unbelievably happy. They feel joy when the doctor says you have cancer. Their faces, for example, become very joyful, not closed, with all the veins protruding and feeling very depressed, very down, with their hearts sunk down below the earth. For them, it is not like this. There are people who see and who practice like that. Even in the West, there are those who are really practicing like that. They feel full satisfaction. Of course, it is best when the motivation isn't that of wanting to recover, but recovery happens by the power of bodhicitta. If pain starts somewhere and you do Tonglen, the pain stops. Even before you engage in actual Tonglen practice, when the mind is just about to start Tonglen practice, because bodhicitta is so powerful, the pain stops. But even when you are not actually engaged in Tonglen, but close to doing Tonglen, the pain goes away. This is the power of bodhicitta. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how powerful, how powerful it is. And so I tell people, I always say the example of Rinpoche when he had, Rinpoche is a little hard to understand nowadays because one side of his face is, one side of his body is somewhat paralyzed because of the stroke. And so when he had the stroke, he was in the hospital, and there were videos and certainly photographs, but videos of it also. And I also heard from people who were in the hospital room at the time, that Rinpoche was just joyous. He had no, that's what he says down here, right? Even when you're not actually engaged in Tonglen, but close to doing Tonglen, the pain goes away. This is the power of Bodhicitta, because his mind is always in Bodhicitta, right? And so he feels no pain. The pain is just not, pain is there, of course. The pain is there in the body, but his mind is not disturbed. Like he says, like us normal people, our veins are protruding and feeling very depressed, very down, with our hearts sunk down to the earth, right? So they have the physical pain, but their hearts are not sunk down below the earth, right? Their hearts are joyful. And that's what Rinpoche's heart was. And that's what we can aspire to, right? Well, not just aspire to, we will be like that one day. But what Rinpoche is saying here is these are the things we need to do, right? Not just aspiring is good, but not good enough. We actually have to do something about it. And these are the things we can do. Now, one thing to note, let me just stop here. And anybody have any comments, thoughts, or questions? Yes, Doris.
Hi, Shankha. Sorry I was late.
That's all right.
I've heard, but I don't know if it's this tradition or not. I think I heard it through Pema Chodron. Always give to yourself first. So can you go over that?
Oh, yes. I was actually, thank you for bringing that up, but that was going to be something I was going to talk. So, people sometimes take a somewhat, they have a misunderstanding about Tonglen. They think that, it's all giving, like we just don't think of ourselves. And, we are only, we're doing Tonglen or we're doing other activities, and we are basically just giving ourselves to others, right? Which is the objective, right? But remember that if we don't take care of ourselves first, we are of no benefit to others, really, right? And His Holiness Rinpoche, Geshe-la, everybody would say the exact same thing. So we really do have to think about ourselves, but we have to, what Rinpoche is saying here is that we have to think of ourselves in a different way, right? So we have to think, so in other words, we're not at Rinpoche's level, right? But so we are where we are, and we have to start where we are. And so we have to know what our boundaries are. We have to know what our limitations are. And we have to work within those limitations. And so we need to be able to say no to people when we have to, because we have to protect ourselves. Because if we say yes all the time and we run ourselves ragged or get depressed or whatever, yes, we can make the prayers to be of benefit to others, but we are not going to be of benefit, really, right? Because even if we're mouthing the words, our intention is just, when you're feeling really depressed, it's very hard to have a bodhicitta attitude, right? But what Rinpoche is saying is one of the best antidotes to depression, one of the best ways to stop being depressed is to have the bodhicitta attitude, right? It's very hard once one is depressed, right? So what Geshe-la used to say, Geshe Gelek in North Carolina used to say, is that, again, for us normal people, when we are in a very negative state, we try to do whatever you need to do to get to a neutral state. Once you're at neutral, you can get to the bodhicitta state or whatever other state that you want to be in, right? But it's very hard to get from depressed to bodhicitta. It's all for at our level, it's very, very difficult to go from depressed to bodhicitta, right? So that's why to stay at the neutral state, we have to think about ourselves. And we have to give ourselves the permission, the license to be like that, right? So it doesn't mean that if somebody calls us up in the middle of the night, this calls us up in the middle of the night and says, I need to do this or whatever, and we are going to make ourselves ill, right? Then, we have to make a decision. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't either way, right? But I'm just saying each of us to ourselves, we have to decide whether or not it's within our capacity to do it in a way that we also protect ourselves, right? And so it doesn't mean we become a doormat. It doesn't, and I think becoming a doormat I think it harms us more than it benefits anybody. So I don't know, was that helpful, Doris?
Yes, thank you, Shankha. I was just, I understand that even better now. I was just wondering how that looks when you're actually doing the practice.
How does that look? Okay. Well, a lot of this is it's a fake it till we make it kind of, where we are. It's very, I don't have Bodhichitta attitude, right? I mean, but I aspire to it, and I will think these things so that I'm creating the seeds in my mind that one day these will, come to fruition, right? And I'm creating the merits at the same time because I have this attitude in my mind so that it does ripen at some point, right? So I don't think we have to beat ourselves up, or not beat ourselves, but I don't think we have to, we just have to understand that even if it's a half-hearted attempt, right? Even if it's like, even if we don't think it's going to do any good, it actually does good, And so thinking that may my actions be of benefit to others, or may, whatever I'm doing right now, I dedicate it to every, the hungry ghost, the hell beings, the intermediate being, the suras, etc., so forth and so on. We just do it, And I don't know. I don't know if I'm answering your question about how it looks. It just looks, we try to engender as much bodhicitta as we can, which within our capacity, right, wherever we are, and then we go from there, right? That's the best I can say, really. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Well, I understand the concept, but I'm just wondering, like say if we're sitting and we're doing,
right,
breathing in, breathing out.
Oh,
how do we turn that so that it's us that we're breathing in and breathing out?
Oh, us as in like to bring the benefit to ourselves.
Right.
Okay. Yes. So there is actually, so a lot of teachers, Western teachers especially, but I've heard this from Geshe Sherab as well, actually, I think. What they will start with is actually doing the practice towards ourselves, right? So in other words, you start with the, taking in all the suffering, pain and suffering that we have, right? Maybe, we had in our childhood, we have now, we might have in the future, so forth and so on. And we take that into our hearts, where it, burns up. And then we give that light, the goodness, the virtue, the compassion, so we wish that for ourselves first, right? So a lot of teachers will do that first before they do the one for other sentient beings. So we can start like that, because then that, that sometimes will put us in a state where it'll put us at a sense of ease or comfort, or or of kind of, warmth in our heart for ourselves, which then we can use to project to others, right? So you can do that for as long as it needs, you know, and maybe if you're at a place, and I'm not saying this you as in Doris, but I'm just saying you in general, if you're at a place where it's very, very hard, you can't do bodhicitta, you can't do this for others, right? But you can only do it for yourself. That's fine. You know, make the aspiration that you will do it for others one day, right? But right now, you need to make your own, you have to take care of your own heart, and that's, you know, understanding that heart, to make it be a benefit to others, we have to get it in a good, wholesome state, right? And so we have permission to do that. And teachers do start with that. And it's perfectly okay, you know, because we are, I mean, you know, again, if we are, you know, if we are broken, we can't help anyone else, you know? So it's perfectly, it's not selfish to do that, because remember, it's not selfish because what is your final motivation? Is that I have that aspiration that I'm not doing it just so that I can be happy and that's it, right? It's because I have a purpose, and the purpose is that I will use my heart to be of benefit to others in the future. I can't do it now, but I'm going to try to do it in the future, right? So that's why it is still a bodhicitta. It's still actually in the same vein, not vein, but in the same, you know, it's in the same attitude, you know, even though we're doing it for ourselves. Did that help?
Yes. I've had times in my life that I would say I was broken.
Yeah.
But even in those moments, and maybe it's because I'm in healthcare, I was always still able to give, you know, and maybe I gave too much, you know, and that's what drained me. I mean, I ended up on a meltdown, you know, like burnout. So food for thought.
Absolutely. And it's true for all of us in many different areas, right? We care for, you know, maybe you were in the healthcare situation. I was in a situation where I was caring for a child, and I went through the same, you know, that's why I didn't work for 2 years, because I just couldn't, you know, and I, you know, and you know, and others who are taking care of the elderly parent. I mean, there are so many people who are taking care of the Alzheimer, you know, parents with dementia. I mean, you know, they just have incredible, you know, I mean, they have incredible, you know, they are putting themselves in, you know, I mean, you know, it's a great burden, right? And one has to know when to take care of oneself, right? And, you know, so it's okay, you know, it's okay to, you know, for those people to have someone come in and take care of their mother or their father, and while they go do whatever they're doing for that day or something, right? I mean, you know, what do they call it? They call it something care, respite care, right? So that, you know, it's okay to do respite care for ourselves in the Dharma.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so absolutely.
Thank you, Shankha.
Okay, sure. Anybody else have any other thoughts? Okay. So this is the end of the Bodhichitta Mindfulness. There will be, I think, Venerable Dondrup. By the way, Venerable Dondrup officially is now the SPC, just so you know. I'm still around. You can always contact me. But in any case, so Venerable Dondrup, I believe, has another Living in the Path. The next module, I think it's going to be in the week, is in March, I believe. Because you know, and I think I'm doing it. I'm not sure exactly, but I think that's what I'm, you know, I think so. But in any case, whoever is doing it, I encourage you to join it, right? And I also, please, you know, pick 1 or 2 things that's in that booklet, right, in the pamphlet, and just start with that, right? Just something easy, whatever is easy for you. Just start with that and then go from there, right? Yeah. So I hope that it was helpful for you. You know, as I said, this is really Rinpoche's class. You know, we are, you know, trying to practice what Rinpoche said. This is not my class, you know, And so I hope that, so whatever mistakes I made in channeling Rinpoche, I apologize, hopefully it won't stick in your mind, and whatever. So, yeah, so let's dedicate, and we'll just do a short, just a 4-line dedication. By the merits of this virtue, by the virtue of my merits, oh God, can you do it, Doris? Do you remember? Okay, I know it in Tibetan, but I can't remember it in English.
The Tibetan, I love the Tibetan. My mind's mush. I can't do anything right now.
Okay, by the virtue of this merits, may I become a Buddha and lead all beings into that enlightened state. May the precious jewel Bodhichitta, not yet born, arise and grow. And may that born not diminish, but grow more and more. So thank you all very much. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Have a good month. And see you next time.